You woke? Time to get up. Let's talk about smoke and mirrors, real smoke and mirrors, because, the media is not going to tell you the whole truth. So we think that the $1.75 trillion Build Back Better plan has something to do with the fact that Joe Manchin won't vote for it. Let me tell you something. Just this week, Congress passed a $768 billion annual defense spending bill. They added $9 billion to it that Joe Biden didn't even ask for. They gave him that. And guess what it passed? 88-11. It's amazing what can be bipartisan in Congress and what can't, right? So then we talk about Joe Manchin, who's arguing over nitpicky little things about taxes, about how much it's going to cost here and there. So how are they going to pay for this $768 billion military defense spending bill, which includes research for UFOs? Now, the Build Back Better plan is researching and trying to find solutions for climate change. But the military spending bill is going to research UFOs. More of that, the Space Force stuff. We're going to spend money on that. But we can't spend money on trying to, get electric cars or more solar power, or we can't even work on wind power. We got a problem with that. Oh, it didn't work in Texas. Let me tell you something. Texas mostly ran on gas, oil and gas. They got plenty of oil and gas. You're talking about like less than 30% of any of their power is run by solar or wind power, and that wasn't why they failed. It's because they failed to properly vet those sources. They didn't put the right. They didn't build put the right protection on their wind towers. They didn't do the right with their solar either. But that's not why they ran out of power. They were just out of power because they didn't have their grid set up right. Okay? But that's another story. Here we go. We got this Build Back Better plan, something that's for Americans, that helps extend the Affordable Care Act. But we'd rather build more bombs. I understand China's a problem. I really understand. We need the military budget. I'm not saying we don't need it, but it was easy for them to vote for that, and it was bipartisan. 88-11. There's exactly 50 Democratic senators, 50 Republican senators. 88-11, they voted for this bill. So that's all smoke and mirrors. See, what ABC, CNN, NBC, any of those channels won't tell you is the truth. Oh, it's all about Joe Manchin because Joe Manchin doesn't want to in his Build Back Better plan. Let me tell you what they voted bipartisanly for. They voted bipartisan for the Asian hate bill. They voted bipartisan for this bill. There's other bills that they voted bipartisan for. Just think about the things they don't want to vote bipartisan for. The George Floyd bill. Any of the Voting Rights Act bills. Because guess what? It actually affects Democrats in the Democratic states where they have a majority, where they're redrawing their districts too. See, the game is afoot, but nobody's really telling the truth. And like I said, 88-11 for defense spending bill to research UFOs. Yeah, they got other things in there like deterring China. Now, America's biggest importer. Where do we get most of our stuff from? China. Your iPhone, where does that come from? China. So how do you stop that? Build stuff in America? That's how you stop China. See, they're getting a lot of money from the United States. The computer we're using right now, China. Maybe Vietnam. Singapore. Somewhere over there. America's not building their stuff. They're getting it from China because they can get it cheap. Everything's about smoke and mirrors. It's a game that they're playing with you. But we got to defend ourselves against China. We got to deter them from the things they're doing in the Pacific. You know, Taiwan. They're picking on Taiwan. They control North Korea. Picking on the Philippines. All those little island nations out there. They're trying to project their power on the rest of the world. Meanwhile, they're still getting a lot of money from the United States. They're helping T-Mobile build their 5G infrastructure. Yeah. That phone you got, like I said, I'm going to say it again. Just about every phone you got comes from China or somewhere nearby, and it's sponsored by China. So, smoke and mirrors are all over the place. The game is afoot. Joe Manchin's making a lot of money. So are a lot of other Democrats. That's why they voted for that. Because guess what happens to that military money? Yeah, it goes to the military to spend on soldiers because they gave them a raise and things like that in this bill, which is good. But at the same time, it goes to military contractors who spend a lot of money in Congress, lobbying Congress all the time. And look, they still haven't raised the debt ceiling. So they ain't explaining how they're going to pay for this. But, we don't know how. This is what Joe Manchin keeps saying. We don't know how we're going to pay for the Build Back Better plan. You're going to tax the rich? You're just going to keep taxing? Well, what you going to do here? That's going to come out our butts. See, that's the game that they play in D.C. So NBC is putting it all on Joe Manchin. Like I said, the military budget bill is sitting on Joe Biden's desk. Now, it passed the House and the Senate. There were 11 smart people who said no for various reasons. But there were 11 smart people who said no. I hope one of those reasons was we need to get this other bill passed first before we pass this one. I'm not saying that this bill doesn't need to be passed. It's just that the American people should be important first. See, that's my biggest problem with DC. These people want you to vote for them. Then what do they do for you? Nothing. Not a thing. That's part of the reason why, I don't like January 6th. I think that was the worst thing in the world. It was retarded. It was stupid. I didn't pull for it. I thought when people were cheering about it, it was terrible. But you know why they cheer for it? You know why they cheer for it? Because of this stuff like this. You can't do the Build Back Better plan. Joe Manchin announced, I'm not going to vote for it. It's because he's already got what he wanted. Just like every other Democrat and Republican has gotten what they wanted. 88 to 11, they got that defense spending bill through Congress. Ain't nobody paying that no attention. It's all over the news, but you didn't hear about it because it was briefly told to you. Meanwhile, Joe Manchin's trying to block the Build Back Better plan. And that was, like I said, this is 88 to 11. That means you got Republicans to vote with Democrats on a bill that they put together, right? So even the Republicans are lying to you folks who vote Republican. Oh, we're doing stuff to save America. This will help them, of course, because they passed the defense spending bill. Oh, we had to have that. Somebody right now is like, why are you talking about this? We have to have defense spending. We have to bomb babies, but we don't have to feed them. You think that's crazy what I'm saying, right? Well, we don't have to bomb babies. We don't have to feed them. It's okay if our children in 30 years from now will be dying from radiation from the sun because of overheating, can't breathe, their houses will be flooded. There'll be a lot of things they'll have to pay for that they're not paying for now because guess what? We don't want to do anything for that. We need to defend America against the Chinese who's building our cell phones, our computers, and our TVs. That's what we need to do. Come on, America, wake up. Let's talk about the Kim Potter trial. The defense Friday rested its case in the Kim Potter trial. it was an interesting, short little trial, of course. Uh, the prosecution gave their witnesses, statements, so on and so forth. Kim Potter is on trial for manslaughter charges and negligent homicide charges. Neither one requires the burden of proof that she had the intent to kill Dante Wright, but that she, through her negligence, killed Dante Wright. That she was at fault by not doing something she should have done properly. And I think that was the proper charges that they brought against her. If you don't know what happened, Dante Wright was killed on April 11th of 2021 when Kim Potter and another officer pulled them over. In the process, I believe they found he had a warrant. Dante tried to hop back in his car. Kim Potter shouted, "Taser, taser, taser." She said she had her taser. Fired it at Dante. Ended up firing a gun at Dante rather than the taser. Dante jumped in the car. Car went down the street a block or so. It hit another car. And of course, he died at the scene. The tragedy behind this, of course, is the fact that she said she had a taser, and that she thought she had a taser. Sorry, and that's what she was aiming at him. Now the thing is, watching body cam footage, she was standing there for a long time with a gun pointed at Dante, and they showed her taser. Her taser has a yellow outer covering around it. It looks nothing like the gun. Now the back end is black, like the handgun, but it's nothing like the gun. It's not even the same weight. And for one thing, you have to get your gun. She gets her gun from her dominant side, which in this case was her right side. So she pulls her gun. Her taser's on her left side. So she said she made a mistake. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't. But the thing is, she had long enough to determine whether she actually had her gun in her hand or her taser, from what I could tell in the video. Because she was pointing that gun at Dante for quite some time. She said, "Taser, taser," she fired. Now, maybe she, like you said, it was an error. But her actions that followed were quite suspicious, because the first thing she did, she was crying, of course. She didn't say, "Oh my God, I shot him. Is he okay? Can we go administer aid? Let's go see what's going on with that." No, her first thing was, "Oh God, I shot him. I'm going to jail." And that's what she was crying about. "Oh, I need to kill myself because I'm going to jail. Oh God, I can't believe I did this, yada, yada, yada." So they took her weapon from her, sat it on the curb, and she was upset about that. Now, she resigned from her job a couple of days later. Why is that suspicious? Okay, of course she was suspended with pay with no weapon, right? So the actions of her were this: if you knew, because the next day she was arrested, if you knew that arrest was coming, you knew that possibility of getting fired was coming also. So what she did before she was arrested was she put in her resignation. Now, there's a difference between resigning and them accepting it, and resigning and, resigning your position. You can resign your position and they can officially say, "We don't accept it." So that could happen also. I believe the police chief probably accepted it the next day, because a couple of days later he resigned himself, because he didn't like the charges that Kim Potter faced. Basically, he didn't like the fact that she was going to face charges for this. He felt like she was following proper police procedure. I guess I can see that, but no, I can't. I'm sorry, but there was a lot of things brought up during the trial where Kim said either she doesn't remember it or she said something else. And both the defense and the prosecution caught her on it, because they were constantly cross-examining each other, examining her from each side's questioning, right? I remember one segment they asked her about something she had said to a psychiatrist or psychologist that she claims she doesn't remember, she doesn't recall. She was using that constantly. I don't recall. I don't recall what happened at the scene when I was there. This videotape, she said, oh, well, it's on the videotape. She didn't want to say it herself. She does not want to incriminate herself, which she has a right to do because it's called pleading the fifth, right? She could have just pled the fifth right there if she wanted to, but she didn't want to do that. She just said, I don't recall. You know, have you ever seen a congressional investigation? They do the same thing. I don't recall. I don't recall. You hear that 1,000 times over. You know, when they don't want to tell the truth, especially, you know, stuff like January 6th. A lot of the folks are saying, I don't recall, or I don't, they don't say I don't remember. They say I don't recall. Because it kind of negates responsibility if they're caught in a lie. Instead of saying, no, I didn't say that, or no, I didn't say that, or anything like that, you know. No, I don't think those words came out of my mouth. You know, I just don't recall. That's all they say. I don't recall. Heck, I don't recall what I ate last night. I don't recall what I ate this morning. So, you know, if somebody said, hey, did you eat chicken wings? I don't recall. Did you have eggs for breakfast? I don't recall. That's all you have to say. That's how that works. That's the method that is used in court. So that's what happened here in Kim Potter trial. She used that method. She didn't want to exhort the opportunity for anybody to question her with that answer. So she gave you that, I don't recall. Then she gave the tears. The Rittenhouse tears. Oh my God, I did tears. And from what I hear, this is the sick part. The mother of Dante Wright is sitting in court. There's not much dividing the two. They were in the hallway, and both of them had to stand there and look at each other in the hallway. Instead of what just happens in most cases, the police assigned to them keep them apart, keep them from having to look at each other and do all those things. I can just imagine the torture on Dante and mother's face. This is the person that killed her child, Dante. Now here's the other thing about Dante. He's got a 2-year-old son. And I don't know if y'all noticed this, but this is the fastest trial I've ever seen in my life. Because this murder happened in April of this year, and we're already in trial. Rittenhouse happened last year, and they're in trial. Aubrey's murder was last year. It happened. The trial happened this year. You see what I'm saying? It's like, this is the fastest I've ever seen. You got people sitting in jail who can't pay their bail, who wait 3 years for trial. This happened in no time at all. No time at all. The wheels of justice turn slow, they say, right? Well, in this case, they turn quick. For a police officer. White female police officer, they turn quick. So we might probably going to get a real speedy trial so they can get a real speedy plea. There's a side of me says that she's going to get a not guilty plea. Just like Kyle Rittenhouse. And like I said, this is negligent homicide, which means she is showing negligence, that she didn't do what she probably did. Let me explain something about Kim Potter. She's been on the force for 27 years. She was present at another police shooting in which she told the officers there to turn off their body cams and sit in separate cars and not speak to each other. So she knows the rules of what to do in an officer-involved shooting. She's the training officer. She trains officers on how to deal with situations in the street. She knows how to use her gun. She knows how to use her taser. She trains them about those things. She trains people those things. Yet somehow, at the point of when she got there with Dante, she didn't know what she was doing. So you question whether what her proper techniques or what she really knows. Come to find out, she hadn't been checking her taser for several days. She hadn't been doing what she was supposed to do. This case just reeks. Okay? So Dante's family probably won't get the justice they want. They will get a big settlement because that's what always comes at the end of this. They will get a big settlement from the government paid by taxpayers. See, this is another thing. Here goes another case where we need to end qualified immunity. It's police officers at fault for killing her son, erroneously, unnecessarily. And we, the taxpayers, have to pay for it, not the officer who committed the action, who killed this young man. A mistake is one thing. When somebody loses their life, it's more than a mistake. It's like when at the factory, when somebody dies because of a faulty scaffolding or something that was left unattained, or a wire or something that caused somebody to get shocked. The company's at fault. The company's at fault. Even if it was one of their employees, the company's at fault. But see, in our case, we, the taxpayers, are at fault because this police officer killed this woman. Maybe that's true. I've been to a town where they've got a sign that says, "We support our police. We support our people in blue, our police officers." So I guess since they support them, it's their responsibility when their officer does something like shoot somebody that they shouldn't. They should pay for it, right? Taxpayers should pay that $30-40 million. They could have went to school books, tuitions, roads and bridges. Heck, even more police stuff, more police vests, guns. But guess what? We got to pay $30 million because one of our officers shot somebody. But they didn't follow proper procedures, didn't do their job the way they should. They made a mistake. It's ridiculous. I'm going to say that. America, we have to figure out how we going to fix this, right? Don't want to pass the George Floyd bill, right? We should. Most Americans agree that the George Floyd bill is perfect, but the Congress we got, they're too busy passing military spending bills. That's more important than people's lives, apparently. That's just how it goes. Merry Christmas, huh? Speaking of Christmas, a lot of you guys will be traveling this Christmas, and I'm hoping y'all will have a safe trip. But I'd like to bring up one story that was brought up this week. Maybe y'all heard about it. I don't know if y'all heard about this or not. Hertz rental car. According to CBS News, more than 190 cases have been filed in federal bankruptcy court against Hertz rental car by customers that claimed the company falsely had arrested for stolen rental cars. Several were arrested after renting cars through their insurance company following an accident or when customers extended the car lease. Further still, others were arrested after renting a car or returning it on time. So, I've seen this story. There's all the stories are sad about this. Okay, one story is this one lady. She got received this, was told that she was under arrest for a stolen car that she had rented. She had returned the car. She lost her real estate license for a year, so she lost money. Another gentleman, he also got arrested. He had a failure to appear in court. He ended up spending time in jail before this case was finally overturned. So you can imagine the time with his family and everything that he lost. There was another woman who was on vacation with her kids when the cops came running with their guns and put her in jail. Then there's the story that everybody is talking about. Kelly Price, singer-songwriter, actress Kelly Price, had a viral video a few months ago about her ordeal with Hertz rental car. Apparently, there was an associate that didn't properly do the paperwork, but was calling her constantly, saying that she owed money, that she needed to return the car. She finally received a letter from Hertz after she'd spoken with Hertz rental car about the situation, saying that they were going to press charges against her and that they were still going to charge her. Let me explain something. There's a couple of things I need to explain to you here, because Hertz's response is awful. They blame the customers, first of all. Said they returned the cars late, didn't return them on time, or we had people who are erroneously filing claims. That's what Hertz did. Now, you know that Hertz filed bankruptcy in 2020 also because of COVID-19. Apparently, they were the only rental car company that filed bankruptcy. They said they couldn't sell their cars or stocks or whatever. But another reason is probably because they had these lawsuits pending. Let me tell you from my assets protection experience, one thing that retail companies like to do is sue the people that they say have stolen something from them. Even if they return the merchandise, if they get their item back, even if they get the item back, they're going to sue you for it. That's to give them extra money. That gives them extra money, extra resources of money. So Hertz is doing the same thing. Don't think this is it could be a scam. And there's a file that says there's been over 300 arrests by this company, dating back to 2007. 2007, Hertz rental car. So you can imagine how many people they've cheated. This should be federally investigated, first of all. This is something that should be federally investigated for what's going on, because these stories are ridiculous. And I'm sure some of you saw this on CBS. Like I said, as an assets protection person, I remember you ask somebody how much they stole, what was stolen, so on and so forth. It doesn't matter if you get that information from them, you can still do that. So think about how many people here they've got these claims against, and some of them have been sent to court and had to prove this time and time again. And meanwhile, they're still getting sent letters, and some of them have probably been in civil court also. Now, you know, the burden of proof is different in civil court than it is in criminal court. So you could get your case overturned in criminal court and then get in civil court and lose your case and have to pay whatever Hertz wants you to pay, right? Yeah, that's very possible. It's a sick game. I guess this is how Hertz is trying to recover their money. I don't know. Some people blame it on a computer problem. I read a couple of articles that said it was possibly a computer problem. Another one is the fact that, of course, employees are not properly processing the cars when they come back, and I believe that's highly possible. So Kelly said that she had papers in her hand showing what she did, but she also realized that the agent, that's the problem, did not properly process the car back in. So this is what I'm going to tell you, because this is my experience from renting a car. You know, some of them have this key drop-off thing where you can drop the key off. Okay, great. But you better write down your mileage. You better take pictures of the car and everything, showing where the car is, the date that the car is there, all of that. It's best for you to turn in the car directly to an agent. Take a picture of the agent as you turn in the key. Sign the papers. Have the papers in your hand. All these things are necessary. Very necessary. I don't care if it's Hertz. I don't care if it's Budget. I don't care if it's Avis. I don't care if it's Enterprise. I don't care what the car company is. You should have those things in your hand. And if at all possible, there are places that they have 24-hour rental kiosks where somebody is working there 24 hours, like the airport, sometimes in the downtown areas near hotels. They have somebody available. Now, there are other places where the only thing you do is they're closed at night and you have to turn that car in. Sorry that's the case, but make sure you turn it in time. You turn it in on time. Don't turn it in early. Don't do any of those things, because they could have already loaned that car out and they want to send it out the next day, and they never properly process the car. I've seen this happen, so I know that's possible. Okay? So just make sure you have all the paperwork in hand, that it is signed. They have signed off on the paperwork. You've got a receipt in your hand for the charge. You got to do all the proper things here. Don't let Hertz get you, because Hertz hurting people. Really. That's what they're doing here. And yes, instead of being a company that's apologizing for what happens, they're sitting here talking about how these people are making erroneous charges, erroneous claims against their bankruptcy and all these things. That's sick. So like I said, they should be federally investigated. The FBI and other agencies should go ahead and investigate them for this. They definitely should be looked at for the things that they're doing to their customers. Personally, I just wouldn't be a customer of Hertz. because this is really hurting their stock when the truth comes out. Just saying. Finally, I would like to congratulate Barbados on doing the right thing. They're getting rid of their colonizers. They're throwing off the Queen of England as their head of state, which makes no sense, on a predominantly black island filled with folks from Africa. No, it makes no sense at all that the Queen of England is your head of state. After all, it was, 200 years ago that her folks brought you over there on boats to be slaves, right? So they doing the right thing, throwing it off. I'm so proud of them. As of November 30th, 2020, Barbados broke ties with the British Crown and swore in its first president, Sandra Mason, 55 years after gaining independence from Great Britain. With this ceremony, 400 years of British rule comes to an end in the former British colony. Prince Charles was present at the swearing-in ceremony. He apologized for the British involvement in Barbados that included 200 years of slavery that ended in 1834. In a quote taken from CBS News article, Prince Charles said this: "From the darkest days of our past and the appalling atrocities of slavery, which forever stains our history, the people of this island forged their path with extraordinary fortitude." Yeah, appalling atrocities is an understatement, considering they had this thing called slave codes, where they basically beat, abused, hung, killed, and executed black people who rebelled against being captives. Captured people, forced to work on these white people's farm to make them profits, right? They weren't paid. They were forced to do this. Slavery did not make them better. You understand? They wouldn't have rebelled as many times as they did. In fact, there was like 3 slave rebellions. One was huge. 20,000 African slaves. It's America too, because it's the Caribbean. 20,000 slaves rose up off of 70 plantations. Of course, that was put down, but we won't even talk about that. It was just the fact that even happened. It's because of slave codes. They got tired of being abused, tired of them not having their own freedom. Everybody's probably, well, what about the natives? Yeah, the natives did occupy the island, but of course the British wiped those out too. Well, not the British, but the Portuguese and the Spanish, because they kept on raiding the island. So eventually the Native Americans left the island, and Europeans bought in. Oh, what about the indentured white servants? Oh yeah, they bought those in too for a short period of time. But of course, that didn't work out either. Therefore, they started bringing in African slaves. They felt like they could handle the conditions and the hard work, but they mistreated them too. So I'm glad they threw off Europe, because what's the point of having a head of state from people who didn't like you originally, who were just using you and abusing you in the first place, who brought you there? So now they're on their own. I will say this about Barbados. Like with any islands, you see what's happening with Haiti. It's been independent since its revolution. But of course, if you know anything about their history, about Haitian history, they had to pay reparations to France. They beat France. They beat Napoleon France. And they had to pay reparations just so they could eat. See, Barbados has to import food. Even though they have industry. Tech industry. They have also farming. But it's mostly like sugar cane and things like that. So they import a lot of their foods. They do have fishing and things like that. So they have to import those things. Also, tourism is huge in Barbados. That's probably their number one industry right now. And those are how they support themselves. So even with freedom, we can see what happened in Africa. So Africa is still trying to throw off their colonizers, even though they're all independent nations. They're still trying to throw them off. They try to control things. Look at coronavirus. Look what they're doing with America and the West is doing with the coronavirus. The Africans are asking them to relinquish the patent on the vaccines, and they won't, because they said we can produce them ourselves. We don't need your vaccines. We can produce them ourselves. We're American, and then won't do it. It's a control mechanism. Barbados is free, but the Western countries will try to control them still. Either way, America will try to control the Western Hemisphere as much as it possibly can. It does it to Jamaica. It does it to the Bahamas. It does it to Barbados. With their money and goods, they will try to do what they can to control them. That's how it works. But I am glad they have gotten rid of their colonizer queen, the thief of the world. The British monarchy has stolen so much. British crown jewels are all stolen for the most part. If they didn't steal them from the Americas, they stole them from Africa, they stole them from India, they stole them from Asia, they stole them even from other European countries. It is not theirs at all. Just go back and look at history. Everything from all the way back to the Crusades, the 100-Year War with France. Look at all those things. Look at all the building of the colonies. Look at all of that, how they stole from native people, from indigenous people from around the world. And it's called the crown jewels. They call it their crown jewels, whatever. It's not really theirs. They're rich off of other people's backs. They were rich off of slavery. They were rich off of breaking the backs of the Indian people as workers and underpaying them with these companies. I forgot what it was called, the Indian company that ran colonies in Asia. Ridiculous, regardless of how you see this. It was ridiculous. But God bless Barbados. They threw off the queen finally. Maybe they'll end the Commonwealth. Maybe more. The last couple of nations that still hold her as the head of their state will let her go. It's just not unnecessary at this point. Just unnecessary. Who needs that? Who cares about the prince? Who cares about the crown prince? And I mean, that stuff is old and ancient. Just watching the British, I think it's absolutely ridiculous that people bow to somebody. I understand it's honorable to them, but if you know the history of the monarchy, ain't nothing honorable about it at all. Okay? Nothing honorable at all. Just read about the War of the Roses. How cousins and brothers killed each other and killed their kids and so on and so forth. There's nothing honorable about it at all. At all. Screw the monarchy. Folks, that concludes this week's show. Of course, it's Christmas week, so there may be a slight gap before the next show, but hey, enjoy your Christmas. Y'all have a happy holiday. If you celebrate Kwanzaa, enjoy Kwanzaa. Happy Hanukkah to those who celebrate Kwanzaa. And everybody else, is just a holiday. It's a holiday for you. Enjoy. Just remember, the joy of giving is the most wonderful feeling in the world. So give to someone this holiday season who really needs it. And like I said, peace. You have been listening to Thought You're Woke, No Speed Limit Podcast.